My name is Jules, and this is Jasmine. She's my best friend.
Hi.
And we decided to read a book by Quan Millz, international bestseller. Okay, and so I'm gonna go first. I read This Hoe's Got Roaches in Her Crib, which is going to be adapted into a TV original. And it's really bad. It shouldn't be adapted to a TV original. Please stop. Although I do think it might be good for drama blogs, like low-key.
Okay.
We open with a note from the author about how this book is satire, and it employs stereotypes in an attempt to cast light on the harm of stereotypes in urban fantasy. Now, at what point is it no longer satire, and you're just perpetuating harmful stereotypes?
Just perpetuating harmful. I don't know. For him, probably page 1.
Yes. And I feel like I come back to that theme a lot, where like he's like, cause you know how Jessie Murph, when she released 1965, and I was like, I'll give up a few rights, she's like, it's satire. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. You just wanted an excuse to say.
You just wanted to say, I'd give up a few rights.
Yeah, that's what I feel like some of this book is. I was like, okay, so we open. For real, the story.
For real?
The story opens with our main character, Fredquisha, aka Moo Moo in the Streets, who lives in Section 8 housing with her 3 kids, and all she wants to do is get dicked down.
Quite naturally.
Yep. Daddy Roach and his family of roaches living in her apartment are eating the months-old decaying pizza that Fredquisha brought with her EBT. It did say it was takeout pizza. I don't actually think you can buy takeout pizza with EBT. Can you only get stuff at the grocery store?
I don't know.
Can you get pizza on EBT? Ooh! No, you cannot. You can do like ready-made things, but yeah, it was like actual like real pizza. There were several times where I was like, do you even know what you're talking about, Quan Millz?
I don't think so.
Okay. She kills the roaches and goes on this very long monologue about how this is normal in those Chicago projects of which she grew up. Little does she know that Daddy Roach, his entire family, all 1,861 of them, were watching and waiting to enter her apartment. Then, we're introduced to Nate Garrison, father of 4, grandfather of 9, owner of Fredquisha's apartment building, and a retired postal worker. The wages he earns from this apartment goes towards his quarterly trips to the Dominican Republic, where he sleeps with foreign prostitutes. His ex-brother-in-law, and current crackhead, Glenn, is the apartment's maintenance guy. Okay. He's very important. Both of these characters are very important. We don't talk about them for a while, but they're very important.
Okay, I'll put them in the back of my mind.
Okay, back to Fredquisha. She's complaining about the roaches, but she can't report Nate because he's not doing anything about it. Because Nate lets it slide that Fredquisha is late on her portion of the rent.
Okay.
How she is late on her portion of the rent, I don't know, because she's not working. All she does is live off her children's child support.
Okay.
Yeah. She leaves the carcasses of the roaches and smokes a blunt, then wants a cigarette, but realizes that she's out, so she goes to the communal area of the apartment and bums the half-used cigarette that one of her neighbors left in the communal ashtray. This is who this person is. That's why I included that. Then she goes back to her apartment, where she finds another roach. Then she checks her phone, which is cracked from where she dropped it outside of a Hooters. So do you know who our main character is? She is every black stereotype you've ever heard.
Also, I would just like to say, him like including the Hooters, like, why do I need to know where she cracked her phone at?
Like, this is when I was like, oh, so that's why you had to include the satire part, because this is
because this is actually just like offensively bad.
Yes. Okay, then she storms into her 6-year-old daughter's room, Myra, aka a utility closet, which is the cleanest room in the house. She threatens to beat Myra for having 1 pair of socks on the floor and gives her 4 more chores to do, which she doesn't. Before leaving to go to her paternal grandmother's house. She gives her 4 more chores to do, but then she tells her to go sit in the living room and don't touch anything.
Okay, so do you want me to do the chores or do you want me to sit in the living room? Also, having her in like a broom closet, why is she basically Harry Potter?
Well, she's not the child who lives.
Not the child who lives.
She's not. Fortunately, slight spoiler. Myra's dad, Austin, was a drug trafficker and a gang member who got arrested and got 6 years parole. He had custody of Myra, but he was arrested for a parole violation and custody, but despite his wishes of Myra to go live with his mother, went to Fredquisha. Fredquisha is happy with his outcome as she gets tax credit and additional government benefits.
Quite naturally. Really?
Frequisha got Myra diagnosed with ADHD so that she could get a disability check and could get her nails and hair done. Frequisha hates Myra because she hates Myra's dad, and she used to be pretty, but now she is overweight. Now she has 3 kids.
Okay.
So not all of that is Myra's fault. Frequisha's other kids. Quan Millz. Is that how you say that? Quan Millz? I'm dyslexic.
Amani? I think so, yeah. I think you're right.
Age 12, whose father is named Marco Polo, runs an underground financial crime ring and raps.
Pause. His father or the 12-year-old?
The father.
Because I would not put it past Quan Millz to have a 12-year-old.
Run a financial crime ring and rap.
I would not.
Zamir, age 10, whose father is a dope boy. She loves her boys so much. She buys them all the latest tech, mall clothes, and Jordans.
Aw, is Frequisha a boy mom?
Yeah.
Aw, boo.
Myra, on the other hand, gets hand-me-down and Dollar Tree toys. Myra sees a cockroach as big as her hand and is scared. Frequisha slaps her and forces her to kill it. That's my thing. How are they going to make this into a Tubi original? There was so much child abuse in this story.
I don't know. On Tubi, they be doing whatever they want.
They do.
I don't think that, like, regular things apply to them.
They're like our HBO. Like, you know how, like, that was the scandalous thing?
That was a scandalous thing. They're HBO, but actually worse because they don't actually make, like, quality TVs.
Well, okay. Have you seen Big Mood?
No.
Okay, it's Nicola Coughlan, and she's a gorgeous.
I know what it
co-star.
is, though.
Yeah,
I know what it is.
You
though.
have to watch it.
Okay.
Literally, okay, and I stand by Tubi for one reason. You watch ads, but you don't pay for it.
You don't. It is completely free. Tubi is I think one of the only like still free ones that actually has like good things that you want to watch.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I low-key stand by them for that. They're slightly less greedy.
Claps for Tubi.
Some of them, they make sense that they're adapting this. Okay. She slaps her and forces her to kill it. Then forces Myra to sit in the living room and wait for her grandmother to get there and take her to the father-daughter dance in jail. Nope. Myra has not eaten and needs her hair done. She needs her hair done. I'm leaving in all these flubs. This is gonna be one straight. Finally, Myra's grandmother, Miss Watson, shows up to the apartment, where she describes the apartment as smelling as, quote, an aromatic melange of fishy pussy, cheap alcohol, cigarettes, roach spray, fried chicken, piss, booty cheese, muss, grease, old weave hair, unwashed clothes, rotting food, and pickle juice.
Pause. Is all of this like? Does she say that it smelled like all of this like at one time? Like
Yes.
This is one whole sentence.
An aromatic melange or melange.
Oh, because I was hoping that this was like over the course of like a chapter. She describes it as
No.
these things several different times, but this is all one sentence.
When she walks in the door, she says, quote, an aromatic melange of the following things. And then Miss Watson sees, quote, a group of thuggish roaches running a train on some thought roach, unquote. And that's not even all of that quote. Google that quote because I'm not gonna say it here, but
Is it crazy?
yeah, it's like her thoughtish pussy roach juice spilled out onto the counter, and I'm like, why are we here? I would also like to say the roaches are mentioned a lot at the beginning. Not at all. They get rid of like all roach discussion towards the end.
Oh.
So like this hoe did have roaches in her crib. Oh, she doesn't at the end though. I'm very wrong. Okay. Okay, let me continue.
Okay.
Miss Watkins wants to beat Frequisha's ass, but does not for Myra's sake. Myra has not seen her grandmother in 7 months, and Frequisha threatens to kill her if she tells her grandmother how they live.
Okay.
What 6-year-old are they gonna get for this part? Without any kids in the house, her sons are with her father. Her sons are with her mother. Frequisha gets drunk and ready for her 11 a.m. dick appointment with her dealer, Deontay. I'm gonna say this wrong. I'm dyslexic. Don't come for me. Flash to Deontay, who's with Martin. They're going to do a 3-way with her for weed and pills. Deontay warns Martin that her apartment is nasty. But she's good in bed, so it makes up for it. He said, quote, he says she, quote, slurps on the dick like a vanilla bean frappuccino, unquote.
He loves to talk about food.
Yes.
He loves to talk about food.
Yeah, anytime anyone's having sex, it's like, the sounds were like you were squashing together moldy guacamole.
Guacamole is crazy.
Yes! Okay, when they arrive at the apartment, Martin is disgusted by it, but they do weed with her and then have sex. Most unsettling smut I've ever read. There's like 4 smut scenes in this book, so there's that.
Okay.
But all of them were very unsettling. He describes everything in metaphors for food, like specifically very wet and slimy. He just Martin's dick is 7.5 inches, in case you're wondering. Deontay is 9.
I of course was wondering for both. Thank you.
Yeah. The smut pauses to describe the stained, smelly couch that they are fornicating on. They Eiffel Tower while the roaches watch. Quote, some of the roaches conversed among themselves, distracted from their mission to find food crumbs. Some had their eyes wide open, delighted in the fuckfest about to go down. However, a few of them critters yawned. They had seen her get it on several times before. What was happening now was like a bad Ebony amateur vid on Pornhub. So they took off in search of some fried chicken bones or some leftover stale french fries rotting under the sofa, unquote.
Crazy.
And then there was this whole bit about, you may think this is some bisexual stuff, but it's not, because it's 2 men and a girl. It was... And then flip to Austin, Myra's dad, getting ready for the jail daddy-daughter dance. His parents are upright citizens, but Austin is the only one of his siblings that got mixed up with street life. The rest of them are highly educated and on their way or working a good job. Austin got into street life at 16. When he was arrested, his dad, who has since passed, took out $100,000 out of his retirement for a big shot lawyer who only got him 6 years probation. Like I said, Austin got pulled over a year or 2 into his parole for having a busted headlight, and the officer found weed on him. The judge over the case gave him 2 years in jail. Austin gets out in less than a month and plans to get his bachelor's degree. Okay, there's a side plot of the jail social worker coming in and telling one of Austin's friends that his baby mama and daughter were killed in a gang fight crossfire.
I would also just like to say, Quan Millz really loves to put someone in prison.
Yes, he does.
He loves to put someone in prison.
Yes. Does he have relatives that are in prison?
I hope not.
Well, yeah, because I'm like, there's no way you know of this. Of them going to a daddy-daughter dance. They're out of uniform.
I will say, I did see a clip of like a prison doing an actual daddy-daughter.
Were
like,
they in
dance kind of
suits?
thing. I don't remember.
Okay, I'm gonna Google it. Can you wear suits for daddy-daughter dance in prison?
I feel like Quan Millz does whatever he wants, but maybe this time he's right. Maybe this time it's right.
They were permitted to wear suits and attire. Okay. My first thought when they said he was putting on suits, I was like, they're gonna break out of jail.
And they're out in the open and they've got regular clothes on.
Yeah, because that's like, like the Bad Heist movie where they switch clothes, like that's what I was thinking. Okay,
I get you now.
Flash to Myra, Miss Watkins, and Jonah, Austin's brother, eating at the Golden Corral. They eat at the Golden Corral for like half a chapter.
Also, just like to say, Golden Corral scares me really bad sometimes.
It does.
Really bad. The one that's over here, my sister, one time we were eating there for breakfast and she found a bone in her breakfast burrito. She remembers that day really, really terribly, but I look back on it very fondly.
Yes.
Very fondly.
Okay. Then they go to Miss Watkins' house to get ready. Miss Watkins lives in a beautiful suburban neighborhood where she keeps a room for Myra in case Myra gets to come and live with her.
God is crazy.
Get ready for this masterpiece I'm about to tell you about.
Okay.
This is 8 pages long, my summary. And it was even longer when it was in my notes. There, Miss Watkins reveals a $400 replica dress of Tiana's and a matching crown for Myra to wear to the dance. They cry and hug. On the way to the dance, Miss Watkins gets rear-ended so they cannot go to the dance. When Austin finds this out, he weeps in the bathroom. A correctional officer sees him. Back to Frequisha. She got her nails done and her hair done, and is out with her besties wearing a dress she bought from child support from Marco Polo. Quote, Frequisha's ass was unemployed and living off Illinois' taxpayers. Unquote. She sees her catch of the night, who is talking to another girl, and orders one of her friends to spill her drink on the girl so she can talk to the guy. She almost starts a fight in the club, but ends up talking to her catch of the night, Quantrell. Flash to Myra. Myra, who is crying herself to sleep. Then an officer shows up to tell them to get ready at 3 a.m. Because they are taking them to see Austin. The officer that ran into Austin in the bathroom told the director of the prison that Myra couldn't make it, so they all get ready to go to the prison, and they made an exception to so that she could see Austin.
Okay, that's actually quite
But
sweet.
from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. You're telling me this couldn't wait till 8 a.m. in the morning?
Wait till 8 in the morning. This couldn't even wait till like 6.
Yes!
3 a.m. is crazy.
Okay. This part's wild.
Okay.
Then flashback to a couple hours earlier with Mumu, aka Frequisha,
Okay.
who's trying to seal the deal with Trell. They can't go back to his place because his kids and baby mama are there, so they plan to go back to her place. In the bathroom of the club, where they are doing dope, Frequisha's bestie reveals that Frequisha is pregnant. She leaves with Trell and ends up getting a hotel with Myra's government money. They start banging in the Uber on the way to the hotel. Okay. Back to Myra and Miss Watkins, where Miss Watkins finds out about how Frequisha treats Myra when they're having breakfast after she saw her dad for 3 hours, which leads her to form a plan to get custody of Myra. Miss Watkins calls Frequisha to get permission to keep Myra until Monday. Frequisha, who is still with Trell, agrees. Miss Watkins calls Austin's former defense lawyer, who says that he cannot help because it's family law, but he says that she needs to get more evidence. Here's my question. Myra is not being fed.
Okay.
Her hair is not done.
Right.
And she's constantly being beaten.
Yes.
Are her teachers not noticing?
Maybe she doesn't go to school.
She does, because
she
that's
does?
a big point in the later book. Like, my question is, why has a teacher not submitted a report? They're mandated reporters.
They are. Well, but you know, this happens all the time now.
Yeah. That's the point Quan Millz is trying to make.
Quan Millz is making. It's the system.
Yeah, that is true.
Big Pharma, if you will, which I love to call the government.
Big Pharma, if you will.
Big Pharma is the problem. I think maybe Quan Millz is really brilliant.
Yeah, maybe he's brilliant and we're not seeing it. Okay, they go to the police department and make a report, and Myra gets a psychological evaluation. They basically tell Miss Watson sucks to suck, I guess.
Okay.
There's a misprint on this page. Something is spelled incorrectly. You know it's bad when I can tell it's spelled wrong. Because I can't spell to save my life. Yeah. So either the man does not have an editor or something, like it's badly misspelled. Back to prison. Austin narrates that many Black and Hispanic inmates gravitate towards Islam, that both gangs and Muslims have a focus on warriorhood. He is almost fully converted. Then he starts talking to an Islamic minister, which I googled. Ministers are not a thing in Islam.
That makes sense.
So Quan Millz did not even open his little phone in Google. One correction. This part is so crazy. One correctional officer gets mad at Austin's friend for being a fake Muslim and then shanks him. Austin gets involved. His friend dies. And then Austin gets the guard shanked and slices the guard's neck. Another guard comes up and tells Austin to drop the weapon 3 times. Austin wants to explain instead of dropping the weapon, and so he refuses to drop the weapon, and Austin is shot.
Yo, what?
And then cliffhanger. I feel like this is where, so we looked it up because we were trying to see if her book that she was reading is a series. We'll talk about that in a minute. But apparently this book was originally released in 3 episodes, not 3 novels, 3 episodes. I fear this is where this episode ends because it was so abrupt. Because then back to Frequisha. Frequisha's mom and Bestie, they're best friends, drop off the boys at Frequisha's apartments. Then one of Frequisha's Then one of Frequisha's besties, Paulette, rolls up raging with her daughter. You ready for this name? I'm gonna live it. Quantasi. What do we think this is? I'm literally gonna put it in Google Translate. Hold on. Translate it.
Quantizza? I have no idea.
Okay, hold on.
How many times will Quan Millz use his name as the basis?
Quantizua. So Paulette rolls up with her daughter, who's 15 years old, Quantizilla. She's raging. She reveals that Quantizilla is pregnant, and Quimami...
Are you adding L's into that?
Quantezua.
Quantizua, age 15,
Okay.
reveals that she is pregnant, and Quimami, who's 12, is the father. This is the moment that I texted you and I said, you will not believe what I just read. The moms are about to start fighting, and they're trying to place the blame. Okay, then it's revealed that Quantazama, whatever, Miss Q girl, reveals that they have been sleeping together for 2 years because she was his babysitter. Okay, and then there's a misprint. This page repeats itself.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so why I'm like I am. What? Why couldn't they be a little older? Why did it have to be 12 and 15 and they started sleeping together when they were 10 and 13? Okay, Frequisha dismisses her company and tells her boys to go up to the apartment. This is why they cannot make this into a TV original. They will have to change the plot.
Okay.
Frequisha beats on Quimami and then tells him to go to his room and get naked. Then she takes the TV cable and whips him with it, which causes him to pee himself, which makes her so mad that she starts smothering him with a pillow. Then Zamir barges in and threatens to call the police. Fredquisha says that she'll just beat his ass too, and she goes to whip him, but Zamar breaks him down. Takes her down. He tackles her. Both boys start beating on her. Glenn, remember Glenn, the crackhead maintenance guy?
Yes.
He comes in after a neighbor reports hearing Fredquisha yelling to find Fredquisha about to pass out with the boys beating her. Yes, Kwamami is still naked. When I tell you, it's hard not to laugh because you're like, what? They call the police and CPS. It's okay. It's not called CPS in this book. It's called. I talk about it later, but I can't remember the acronym because it's kind of stupid.
Okay.
But CPS, that's what we have in Texas, which is Child Protective Services. Their case is open. The kids aren't allowed to be with her until the case is closed. So the boys go stay with Evelyn. That's Fredquisha's mom. Quote. You're not ready for this. Truth be told, Evelyn should not have been the one to take the boys in, since she herself was on probation for child endangerment, unquote. For years, Evelyn ran an illegal daycare out of her apartment. Then one of the toddlers was exposed to rat droppings and got hantavirus pulmonary syndrome that almost killed him. The mother of the toddler reported it to DPS, which caused her to get arrested and 3 years probation.
Y'all, what the hell?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That entire section, I was just like, why?
At what point? At one point do we say enough, Quan?
Yes. And my question is, did he experience this? Did he know someone who knew someone? I don't know. Okay, then Fredquisha calls Miss Watkins and tells her to bring Myra back. They go back and forth, and then Fredquisha says that if she doesn't bring Myra back, that she will show up at her house and beat her up. And then Miss Watkins says that if she shows up at her house, she will shoot her, which win for Miss Watkins. Then Miss Watkins gets a call from her friend who knows Glenn and just ran into him, who told her about the fight. So then Miss Watkins calls Fredquisha and tells her she knows about the fight. Fredquisha says she can have Myra and throws her phone and shatters it. Now here's my thing. They don't ever address the fact that her phone was shattered.
Okay.
So she just calls on it regularly. I don't know why the detail that it was shattered needed to be included.
Okay.
Cut to Katina, or Tina Lewis, Deontay's baby mama. You remember Deontay? The weed dealer?
Yes. Okay.
Who was working overtime as a nurse in the pediatric ICU.
Pause. We're talking about the girlfriend who's a pediatric nurse?
Yes, not the weed dealer.
I just want to make sure.
Okay.
He gets crazy.
He does get real crazy. So she has dreams of being I think this is what this is.
Anesthetist.
Anesthetist. What the heck is that? Oh, that's what I thought it was. Okay. The anesthesia doctor. That's who I thought that was. Anesthetist.
Is that what they're called?
I thought it was called an anesthesiologist. That's what they always call it on my sister's surgeries.
I thought that's what it was called too.
Okay. Anyway, her first step is leaving Deontay. Hold on, let's look up and see how I'm supposed to say his name.
Also, just like to say, the first time that Quan Millz has taught anyone anything.
Yeah. You didn't learn anything in your book?
Deonate.
That's wrong.
We're
You were right the first time.
Deontay?
Deontay.
Okay. She is not renewing the lease and moving in with her mom, which she hasn't told him yet. She goes to her house at 11 p.m. She's been working in the ICU since 4 a.m. She walks into her room to see a random girl sleeping with her man. Tina gets her gun and starts shooting at them. And then her kids come in the room, so she stops. She tells Deontay that she's leaving him and leaves with her kid. Back to Austin. Remember? We think he might be dead.
Yes.
He was hit with rubber bullets, so he was fine.
Okay.
They just did a quick internal investigation and they cleared Austin's name. No biggie.
No biggie.
Yeah. Miss Watkins, who's not taking Myra to school because she's scared that Fredquisha will show up at the school and take her from school. And then she gets called that Austin was shot. Back to Fredquisha. She's trying to clean up her apartment before social services comes. Mm-hmm. As she's cleaning, she monologues that she would have let Myra go live with Miss Watkins, but she would lose $2,500 if she did that, which supports her getting her hair done, her nails done, 2 to 3 outfits a week, and vacations. Then Mr. Nate comes in and is like, you owe me money. I'm going to give you a 30-day notice. unless you sleep with me. So they do that.
Quite naturally.
It's wild. Like when I tell you, once again, one of the most wild. Then he sends her $500 and then hires a cleaning lady for her apartment. Then he makes her get nasty with him again and says, quote, over there acting like you got standards and shit. Bitch, you live with roaches, unquote. That was my favorite quote of the whole book.
And you know what? He's right.
Yes! Okay, cut to Tina, who's walking back to the hospital and is accosted by Deontay with a gun, demanding that she get back with him. She stands up to him and calls his bluff that he won't shoot her. That was awkward. So he doesn't shoot her, he just leaves.
Okay.
This guy is... Anyway, back to Austin, right? Who's having his sentence commuted and getting out at the end of the week. Then to CPS, or it's called DCFS. Okay, we go to their office building where the social workers are talking about their sex life in detail. So much vivid detail, and like, oh, it was crazy. Then they start bringing up Fred Quisha, making fun of her name, saying that they do not want to go out there and deal with her. Therefore, the lady that goes out to interview Fred Quisha for CPS is Vicky, Fred Quisha's longtime case manager from the Chicago Housing Authority. Vicky says that Miss Watkins just wants Myra, and the boys were just hormonal, and that the abuse allegations are false. Vicky believes her as she's standing in Fred Quisha's finally clean apartment, and they realize that Myra's not at school. Vicky calls the police to get Myra returned immediately. Fred Quisha calls her moms and tells her to get the boys to lie about what happened and that she will take them to Disneyland if they do.
Girl.
You beat them naked. Anyway, the cops and a social worker named Miss Gonzalez, who was not one of the sex in the office social workers from earlier, show up at Miss Watkins' house saying that if Myra does not go with them, then Miss Watkins will be charged with kidnapping.
Not kidnapping.
But let's talk about, she said you can have her. I would have gone, if you go to basically she relinquished her rights. Isn't that, I don't know.
At least a little bit, I feel like.
Yeah. Okay, and then you think this whole car ride that she is going, that they are taking Myra to Fred Quisha, but they are taking her to Evelyn, who is described as quote, looking like Shrek and Fred Quisha had a secret love child. Shrek Quisha, unquote.
Y'all.
Miss Gonzalez does not want to leave Myra there, but the cop wants to leave, so she tells Myra to pray and call 911 if anything happens. Evelyn starts sweet-talking Myra, feeding her good food, watching her favorite movies, because she hopes to get custody of the kids and move into a nicer apartment with the money. Please note that Evelyn also has a roach problem.
Okay.
Then that morning, at 3 a.m., the roaches are on the hunt for food, but they cannot find any. So, quote, Triple OG chief of the roach gang, unquote, bites Myra on the cheek. Then in the morning, she is too sick to get ready for school. She starts vomiting and then having a seizure, so they rush her to the hospital. Then there's this random bolded "to be continued," which I think this is where episode 2 ends and 3 starts. Back to Katina. She's getting a restraining order against Deontay. Deontay does not have anyone that will let him live with them. Okay. So he goes to Moo and begs to live with her. She agrees, which is good because he has a car and she just got a call that Myra is in the hospital. At the hospital, we learn that Myra has bacterial meningitis that has caused an infection in her brain, making her almost brain dead. Frequisha is upset. Yes! What? Like the left turn that this took. Frequisha is upset and prays and promises to be a good mother. Several times, this family is almost kicked out of the hospital for fighting. They finally call Miss Watkins and tell her what's happening, and she rushes up to the hospital. They give Myra a couple hours to live at this point. Mrs. Gonzalez is worried about Myra, remember the good social worker. So she goes up to the CPS office and calls them out for not doing a home visit and falsely submitting a report about an interview that she did not conduct. They almost get into a fight. Then Miss Gonzalez, she almost fights like the CPS workers in the office. And then there's this whole thing, and she's like, "You're just some white lady," and she's like, "Actually, I'm a quarter black," and that's how it ends. It was so weird. I was like, okay. And then Miss Gonzalez goes to the hospital to see Myra. Miss Watkins is there, and they pray together. The doctor comes in to say Myra is in a vegetative state, but it's Fred Quisha's call to pull life support. Flash to Austin, who they have given an even earlier release given Myra's condition. I don't think they do that, but Then
I'll run
Austin,
with it.
then Austin shows up at the hospital, and Evelyn starts hollering, which causes them to make Evelyn and Fredquisha leave. The doctor came in to say that they were going to try to do another treatment with the University of Chicago Hospital. There is a really nice moment between Miss Watson, Austin, and Fredquisha's brother here. I didn't mention it, but I didn't say exactly what happened, but it was just a nice moment. It's one of the only nice moments in this book, besides when she gets
reprieve.
Yeah, besides when she gets the Tiana dress. That's the only happy moment. Back to Tina, who is walking into her mom's house after work and is shot. Then Deontay, who is then cut to Deontay, who's getting, quote, this is awful, the sloppiest head from some Popeye's drive-through scallywag he met a couple weeks ago, unquote. Why would you describe
Scallywag is crazy.
That is the entire sentence. Oh, anyway, the doctor, hold on, what page am I on? Hold on, am I almost done? Yeah, I'm on page 7.
Okay.
The doctor goes to get Fredquisha's approval for the experimental treatment involving taking nerve cells and transplanting them into Myra's brain. She agrees. Then Mr. Garrison calls and says that he's horny and he needs her, or he's going to report her to Section 8 on Friday. She makes him pay for an Uber to her apartment. Then they have anal sex. And he says, quote, do you want to make extra cash, unquote. She says, no, I need to get back to the hospital. So he breaks a bottle over her head and whips her with a belt until she's covered with bruises. That's what I'm saying. What?
I feel like the last 3 chapters have ended with someone just being brutally beaten or
Yes!
shot or
Yes! She's about to pass out from her injuries when she agrees that she needs to make extra money. He says, quote, he has a Polish cracker, unquote, who wants to sleep with a black girl. She gets only $100 for this, which seems pretty cheap compared to got $500 last time.
Right.
Then Deontay, back in bed with his 19-year-old mother of 2 Popeye's drive-thru worker.
How old is Deontay?
God only knows. It's not I don't think the kids are his, but he already has 2 kids with Katina.
Okay.
And then he has a 3rd secret baby, which we'll talk about in a second.
Oh my god.
When he gets a phone call from a woman saying, I did it. The woman on the phone is Tisha, a lady he had a secret baby with but refused to leave Tina for. Tisha shot Tina so Deontay and her could be together. Yeah. Back at the hospital, where Maddie, Tina's mom, is worried sick about her daughter, who will not make it unless she gets a kidney transplant by the end of the week. Maddie makes a call to her Uncle Terry, aka Fat Terry, the triple OG 4-corner hustler gang chief.
So true.
She tells him that Deontay shot her, and he says he'll take care of it. Then to Myra's side of the hospital. The doctors let them know that Myra didn't make it. Fredquisha never showed up to the hospital again after Nate called them away.
Quacka,
Yeah.
Of course.
And she refuses to cover funeral costs, so Miss Watson threw a grand funeral. This is where I cried, where they crowned her with the Tiana crown from the daddy-daughter dance.
Okay, that's actually that's quite sweet.
Yeah. Weeks later, Austin is grief-stricken and goes to Fredquisha's apartment to kill her.
Okay.
Right after he got out of prison.
He's going back, I guess.
Yeah. But before he can get out of his car, 2 big guys with guns tell him to get lost. He sees Glenn, the crackhead, get paid and let them into the building. They kill Deontay and Fredquisha, who was helping him hide from the police, but has no clue that she was helping him hide from the gang.
What? What? I feel like Quan Millz, I feel like he writes things and he doesn't think about what happened before.
Yeah. Well, okay, so he was hiding from the police because the police think that maybe he's the one that shot Tina. But the thing is, he has a call from Tisha. Was that her name? Tisha?
Saying that she was the one who did it.
Yeah. I don't know. But it was just really goofy because he just sits there and watches, he hears them scream and just sits and listens to the screams of them dying. Weeks later, wait, no. Then Katina got her transplant and attends the same college that Austin does. She and Austin have a meet cute at the campus Chick-fil-A where she drops her meal and he buys her a new one.
Would just like to say this is the first and only restaurant I have to assume in his books that's not stereotypically
Yes!
black.
Yes! Earlier we were at the Golden Corral, which I'll talk about. Hold on. That plays into the names thing.
Okay.
Because if you'll notice, the characters that are crazy have very unique, stereotypical black names. But the ones that are normal are Austin and Evelyn and Maddie. Well, Evelyn's not really normal. Evelyn's the one that ran the preschool, the Roach preschool out of her.
Not normal, but she's gonna...
She's normal by the end of the book, which we'll talk about in a second. But then Katina, remember she pulls out the gun, right?
Yes.
He calls her Katina in that, which I call her Katina through everything, but the rest of the time she's just Tina.
Okay.
Which is like, yeah. So I feel like he purposely puts like, I don't know, that all felt very purposeful. I was like, that's weird behavior. But anyway, weeks or months later, Evelyn brought a malpractice suit against the hospital for $10 million. But she needs Austin to take a paternity test. If Myra is his, they have to split the money. He goes to court where it was revealed that, drumroll please, he is not the father.
This is an episode of Maury.
Yeah. Yeah. But because he cared more for Myra than Evelyn, as proven by witness testimony, he gets all the money.
Not all the money, dang.
A year later, he is crying over the headstone of Myra with Katina. He still misses her and does not care that he was not actually her father. They're together now. They leave and get in his black Rolls Royce. Austin has started a massive real estate empire, a nonprofit, and many after-school programs. Katina is getting her master's degree and started a low-income clinic. Austin forgave Evelyn and helped her move to that nicer apartment. The book ended with something ridiculous about love, but I didn't write it down because it was cheesy, and this book was really stupid.
I would also just like to say the fact that Austin and Katina, when they, get better, they both end up with white-collar jobs is so silly.
And they both have bachelor's degree now.
Have bachelor's degrees, masters, and white-collar jobs.
Yes. Okay, and the other thing I will say, I'm on Page Bound Co., which is like an alternative. It's like Goodreads, but so it's supposed to be more social media than that. I always try to find like the newest and upcoming one. So there's not a lot of people on it. There was only 2 reviews for this host got roaches in her crib. Okay. The only review was that it was not as good. That this book was not as good as The Old Thought Next Door. That was the only written review on there.
I guess now we have to read The
Old Thought Next Door.
It'd be crazy if I read that one now.
Yeah, it would. That's not the one she read.